I think the minute I stepped on a practice field for rugby, the calling happened.
An 8-year plan to be on the team. And I was in it within 2 years.
Don't wait until you are a pro to be a pro. Right.
And I walk around with a rugby ball sometimes and they're like, what is this child on?
It looked like it was a heavy hit.
It's up, it's not up.
You know, that's the first time I played like professionally.
I'm making rugby money. How can I make money outside of it?
And there's two Scottish guys, and they said, "Oh, you're here for the movie."
That rugby is a game for all shapes and sizes, all cultural aspects.
He looked at me and he says, "You guys are awesome."
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Rugby Swag. My name is GiftTime Bailu. Of course, this is a show where we talk to people about the things that they've done, created, or taken advantage of via rugby. And of course, keeping you up to date with what's happening in rugby world today. We have today a really amazing guest, one of my friends. I'll introduce a little bit more a little bit later on, but before we get to that, I just want to remind you to please go ahead and like and subscribe to this. Of course, if you're listening on the podcast, if you're just on an episode, definitely subscribe on to the show so you can get regularly updated when we put out a new episode. And of course, if you have any questions, you want to talk about it, anything to that effect, go ahead and check us out on Instagram at Rugby Swag Show, on X at GiftABailu or at GiftTime Rugby, on Facebook at GiftTime Rugby, and of course TikTok at GiftTime Rugby, where we'll try and post more information, things to keep you up in between shows. But I don't want you guys to miss out on this one. I think it's really important in terms of development of rugby. I think with the news about what's happening in world rugby, and I think a lot of people are just really going off about Tier 2 rugby. It actually starts to piss me off to some extent that so many people are feeling like rugby is over simply because one set of rugby has kind of put themselves in a bubble and like 90% of rugby isn't inside that bubble. So in the same regard, I do feel the same way that happens locally. If you feel like USA Rugby, your greater conference, isn't stepping up to the plate, but hence it inhibits the ability to grow rugby the way that it should be, but you also have your own little bubble that you literally can do an impact on your own, then you need to do it in that, because the bigger picture is just a scaled up version of what you do from the smaller side. So in this situation, I've told people I'm an HBCU rugby guy. That is not just my passion project, but the biggest focus. And working with organizations that help to that effect is something that is very, very personal to me. And that will lead into this interview. And so before I introduce you to who it is, I just want to say, please don't forget to go also check out healthenhancedfoods.com, our sponsor for the show. It is the specialty flour store. Find the flour that fits to your dietary needs, whether you're gluten-free, diabetic, kidney, whether you want to have a keto-specific diet, but you need to be able to find the breads that can actually work to it so that you don't have to be punished for the decisions of others. Definitely check out healthenhancedfoods.com, and with promo code RugbySwag, you can get up to 10% off your first purchase order. So make sure that you control your house in your body. So until that moment, man, let's take it over, Rugby Swag, and introduce you to our guest for today. Welcome everybody to another episode of Rugby Swag Show, where we talk to the people and keep you up to date with what's going on in rugby news, information. And today we got a special guest for us today. Man, this man has been working in rugby for years. At this point is looking to change the game for HBCU and Black college rugby. President for the John G. Robertson and Clive Sullivan Rugby Foundation. My guy, the Mike Anderson. Yo, Mike, man, thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here, Gift.
Man, I'm happy to have you on. I know we've been trying to get this set up for ages, but yeah. You know, ain't no time like the present. All right, we can't keep people waiting for the holidays so that they have the biggest chance to listen without any guilt.
Right.
Man.
Right.
Well, one of the things that we talked about wanting to do today was obviously get a little bit more information about the John G. Robertson and Clive Sullivan Foundation and really kind of speak to what they're doing. But I also like to make sure, because I'm a big believer that every story is a superhero story. And to be able to understand what the objective and the mission is, you have to understand where the hero and what their origin story is coming from. So for you, Mike, I wanted to ask you, man, for your origin story, how did you get started in rugby?
Oh, wow. That's a very interesting question. Basically,
that's the best one, all right?
Yeah, basically, I had a buddy of mine that introduced me to the game, got me out one day, and he said, hey, do you want to play rugby? And like we all say, what's rugby?
Right.
And, he said, well, just come on out. I said, all right, great. So, I showed up at the field and I'm like, what are these guys doing? Where's the helmets? Where's the pads? Like, what's going on? Why did that guy just stiff arm that guy? Like, wait a minute. What? Okay. They're not throwing the ball downfield. Like, wait, they're just running back. Wait, they're just running back and forth. Wait a minute. Why are they doing like this big group hug thing and pushing each other back and forth over a ball? Like, why not just give the ball to the guy and have him run the ball? And I'm standing there and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. This is really, really weird. So he said, hey, the first way to learn rugby is to play rugby. So he like threw me the ball and everyone started chasing me. And I was like, wait a minute. Running downfield. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like, this is not.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Hey, I need some. You guys didn't tell me the background information. All right. I did not know if I was consenting to this yet.
Right. So I'm thinking touchdown. So I run to the goalpost and walk in. They're like, no, they're yelling, you got to touch the ball down. Touch the ball. I said, okay. So I touched it down on the ground and then they stopped attempting to tackle me. And I was like, oh, okay. So, after my friend had introduced me to the game, I started coming to practices and started learning the game. And it took a while, coming from other sports background, being in football, a little bit of football, a little bit of wrestling. And, I just started loving the game. And never left since 19. And I'm 51 now. And nice. I'm still playing. I'm playing D3 right now in the Capital Rugby Union.
Has it always been based within the Maryland area, or did you start in another place and then you kind of found your way over to Maryland?
I started in Severna Park, Maryland, with Seven River Rugby. And then from there, I stayed there for a while. I mean, I pretty much, that's my roots, I went from there to Baltimore Chesapeake. I think about 3 years. And then came back to Severn. And then, throughout travel back then, you could pretty much call a phone number and find out where a team was at and you would go play. Nice. So when I moved to North Carolina, I actually ended up playing with the Asheville Iguanas for a little bit. That was a lot of fun. And, and just started, jumping on other teams, just learning the dynamics of rugby and how it's played and the differences and just the different people and such. It became more a brotherhood for me more so than anything. Just because I could go to any rugby team, no matter where I'm at, vacation or otherwise, and get a run in at a practice, or try to jump in a game, try to get 10 minutes or 20 minutes in a run. So, I started out as a wing, 200 pounds lighter. And then as I got older, now I'm a lock.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's always that one meme where it's like when you first started playing, you're a wing. About 10 years in, suddenly you might become a center. Then all of a sudden you move to the flanker. Now you're inside of the lock.
Right.
Right.
Right. So it's yeah. So now I'm just an old utility player.
Hey, man, but look, that's the inspiration over the long term. It's like, look, we can still see play, even if it's not at the same level, but we can still do some cracking, as it's per necessary. Just make it about 15 minutes. We don't need to go hard for the full 80. Just give me about 15, 20, 30 minutes max. We good. We're good. You guys do the rest.
Yeah. I hear you. Those 80 minutes are brutal. Yeah. Once you clear 30, you don't recover like you used to.
Bruh, I'm telling you. So let me ask, for you, obviously, like you said, you've had at least a few places that you've been able to go, and rugby started rugby. We're talking about almost a little over 30 years ago. So you've had the opportunity to watch a lot of this growth over time. For you, as you've seen rugby grow from when you started to today, what has been one of the biggest changes that you felt you've seen, positive or negative, that you've seen from rugby as it's developed?
Well, on the positive side, I've seen a lot more women come into the game. And I've seen a lot of the rugby get faster. The rules changing to make the game faster. I've seen a lot of safety things put in place to make the game safer. With all the, protocols and things of that nature and all the stuff the coaches have to go through to learn to recognize when, your players are, they're not in the best shape. I've seen the uniforms change. When I started, we all had long sleeves. Now we got short sleeves.
That lets you know the time period. Hey, not to call you old, but my goodness.
Yeah. It was like, man, these sleeves, when you start sweating, get kind of heavy, buddy. Like,
right.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. But, as time went by, on the negative side, I noticed that there weren't more of me in the game. And it was something to where, you travel and you go to a game and I'm the only black person there, amongst 60 other guys, and then when I did see one of us, it was like, hey, where are you getting? Oh, yeah. Or the infamous, we look at each other and we go, yeah, I got that nod, So it was, it was like, wow, it'd be nice to see more of me, around here in the game, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, trying to move the needle, so to speak. I know I'm not going to do it all, but I want to move the needle just a little bit, just a little bit.
I think that's always fair. And honestly, with any progression of sport, especially whenever it's one that is both community while also simultaneously trying to be able to develop in a level of commercialization, professionalization, and opportunity, you have to be able to do things that push it out of its proverbial norm, as it may. And I'm going to speak on it because I think it's really important to speak on those 3 decades of knowledge of rugby, because I think there's been so many phases that we've seen from the early 90s coming into today. Obviously you're speaking about the lack of black people that have been able to play. But from your experience, again, have you been able to see at least some facilitation that has allowed it to be maybe even more favorable, or has allowed it to kind of create a better pathway for black people to more enter into the sport in a natural way, both from the sport itself, but even more importantly, and I think we both know this, within the culture itself too, that has also been like, yo, you play rugby? Like, I'll use this example. I remember whenever, back in the day, before my lovely marriage time that now exists because I don't have a life that existed prior to. But in those days, I remember I asked one girl out and I was like, "Oh, you want to come see the rugby match?" And she was like, "What? Who plays rugby? Black people don't play rugby." So it's like, have you seen from within the culture as well of within black culture as well as within the rugby culture, a easier pathway into playing?
Well, let's go to the first thing. As for seeing us in the game and our perception of the game, a lot of us don't know. When I say us, I mean black and brown people don't know. BIPOC don't know what rugby's about. They look at it as, okay, that's something these elite guys play and they don't want us there. From a cultural standpoint, let's just call a spade a spade. We are pushed as a people into basketball, into football, because we're being programmed to want those dollars. And yes, I understand scholarship money for your kids to come through, and I get it. And scholarships are they're there. They're there at colleges throughout the United States for people that's less fortunate that need aid and help to go play the game of rugby at that college. The thing with that is our culture kind of frowns on anything other than playing those two sports.
Mm-hmm. Track also included within that as well too.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that Jim Brown can play lacrosse and be phenomenal at it and have all these accolades behind it, but very few in the black community know him other than football.
Right.
And it's like, wow, we have to make our eyes bigger on the prize. I say it all the time to some of the kids that I talk to and some of the adult males that I talk to. Hey, especially if they're in college, why be a small fish in a big pond? Be a big fish in a small pond. I said, and who knows? You could excel at this at a greater speed because there's not many of us here.
Right.
And we all know from history, NBA, NFL, kind of things we get into and join, we do our thing. We just do our thing. Let's just call it real. We do our thing. And it brings a lot of things to the table. But having us get into that and change that mindset, to put our little culture into it, because we all know HBCUs are a lot different, to how we do things. It's going to take some time, and people like myself and you and the others that'll come after me, that are going to make that happen. Hopefully, prayfully. But that big disconnect, though, is not just at the college level. It goes all the way down to youth sports and youth programs as well.
Right.
U14, U10, U16, because the pathways are not there, nor are they marketing to our communities about the sport. And then the coaches as well. I could count to you on one hand of how many black coaches there are in the game. And that goes for referees as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a learning curve, of course, but all this exists right now.
Right. I within that, and I love that you kind of speak, especially when it comes to the marketing. I think for me, I've been really big critique of the almost model for presenting rugby in general. Like, let's even take out the whole community aspect, even just in general. I think even to this day, I think it's still not quite there. It's very, very top heavy, but there's been a lot of lack when it comes to creating sourcing. We have, some programs, especially within especially now, like MICR, DICR, cats out in LA, yada yada, that have created a little bit of facilitation within a specific version of the Black community that has at least introduced them to rugby at an earlier stage, and has been allowed to give at least the option of opportunity and community for a lot of those kids to be able to use rugby to develop themselves and grow out. And obviously, I think we can easily say this is absolutely dope. For you, as we've seen these over your time, that marketing aspect, what part of it would you feel like you would want to see improved upon in terms of providing a better presentation of the sport and it being something that shows value for people to enter into it? Because I think sometimes the way that we've gone into it is a little bit different than what the next generation or the kid would want to enter into it, or even the parents of them. So for you, I guess, like, what would be a way that you feel like you would want to see it being presented differently, where it shows value while also gives reason to introduce those kids, get pushed into rugby as opposed to, maybe an alternative sport?
Well, the value comes, let's just start from the younger kids, right? Mm-hmm. So we get more Black parents involved to understand the game. We all know that, if that parent had played rugby before, it's a easy sell.
Right.
If you have some that are like, hey, my kid played this sport, that sport, your sport fits our schedule, we want him to play over here. Right. And we have to get some education to that parent so they understand what's going on, and then have a good coach that actually understands the game to actually coach. That's just at that level. From a marketing standpoint, we need to have better partnerships on our youth organizations throughout the whole entire country, right. To partner with the unions that are in that area, so they get love on social media. They get, exposure in the community, whether it be, billboards or some type of highway signage, or, having fundraisers that, you bring the kids together as a state or as a county, along with also putting out training sessions and camps and clinics and seminars, so everybody can come together and say, oh, it's just not 10 kids. It's really 70 kids,
right?
And that's just this neighborhood or this county out of, 8 counties in the state, and this is all hypothetical, of course, but, and then they start seeing the brotherhood, the sisterhood, amongst the girls and the women's teams. And then just how tight-knit we are as a rugby community, because something can happen in Maryland and it'll affect California and vice versa. And then, and understanding the safety of it. I mean, the first thing a parent sees is they go, oh, well, you guys don't wear helmets and pads? Nah, that's not happening, And then we talk about, hey, we also have tag rugby as well, right. Which is an outlet to learn the game for the young kids. So they can get comfortable with it. The biggest thing we deal with in that market, in the youth market, is fear. But once we have people that are there that are genuinely caring about the safety of the children and can show that and have documentation through Rugby Explorer and such, that we all have to go through to get certifications for through World Rugby, then they start to feel better about having their kid play rugby. Now that's at that youth market. When you start coming from high school to college, that's a whole nother animal.
Right. Right.
And then you got that kid who's 17 to 19 who's like, hey, yeah, I loved my rugby experience as a kid. I made some great friends. Yeah, we're all going to such and such college, And then you have, well, in our community, we're looking at, well, where are the Black colleges? Where are the HBCUs that have rugby, because that's where I want to go to, because my college experience, I wanted an all-black university.
Right.
That's where I want to go. So, which is a part of our mission at the Irish Rugby Foundation, is to have that opportunity there for those kids that want to do that. But in that, partnerships with those local unions. And then now let's start bringing in black businesses to support that cause as well through, hey, we're going to pay for, and I'm going to talk rugby, a whole kit, which a kit would consist of your jerseys, your shorts, your socks, and a bag, maybe a jacket or a whole warm-up. And on that local business can put their business logo and their phone number or whatever they have, logos or whatever, but they're showing support. And now we're black supporting black, right?
Right.
Scholarships. Hey, if you go to my alma mater, whether it be Howard, Bowie, Morgan State, Copp, and so forth and so on. This is just in my local area here, or Southern University or Ramblin' State or whatever. You that business, that black-owned business, say, I'll pay for your books for 2 semesters, 3 semesters. What, $3,000 maybe? That's huge. That's huge. And now the parents are like, okay. Oh, and he can still be an engineering major, or a scientist or a doctor or an attorney, one of those higher levels we want to go to.
Hey, look, this is the Nigerian way. If you're not pathfinding through the lawyer, doctor, engineer, you gotta make that value add. So yeah,
right. So these are some of the things that I would like to see happen, and I'm doing efforts to make that happen, or at least start the conversation and get a foot in the door. But the partnerships are huge. I mean, in my local area, I've partnered with the Capital Rugby Union. I've had a couple meetings already. I've also trying to create partnerships with the Major League Rugby out there, and also Sheehy Ford, which is a big partnership in that organization.
Yeah, they helped us with the HBCU Rugby Classic this past year, so give a lot of credit to Paul and his
Paul Sheehy. Thank you hugely for your efforts, just in rugby in general. Like he sees the bigger picture.
Absolute game changer guy. Yes.
Yeah, Christopher Dunleavy, same sees the bigger picture, and that's what we need. But not just here. We need it everywhere. To get to make rugby diverse.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. Through diversity, another element introduces itself, and now we raise as a whole because everybody's in,
Word. So, kind of transition into that, let's talk about the James G. Robertson and Clive Sullivan Foundation, because I absolutely, whenever about 3 years ago when we had Kirill on the show, and really the early stages of it, she told us a little bit about what the idea is. And obviously since then, a lot has happened in that moment. So from your side of it, obviously you've been there from the very beginning. I think it's been you, Tozantu Chitanwe, who's also been a guest on the show as well too. And series Taylor White, Duma Robinson. And so from your perspective, tell me kind of how did you guys get started so we can know like really where we're going to now, almost three years later. So how did you get connected and started with the RS Rugby Foundation?
So me and T have been friends for a long time, and we've talked rugby for a long time. And like everything that you want to do, everything starts with a conversation, right?
Right.
But you got 2 men talking about how can we make things better in this game.
I feel like this is one of those conversations that we all have within the rugby community. It's the silver bullet conversation that I think John Hughes said it. Right.
So with me and him, we talked and figured out this, and we both knew that it's going to take more than just me and him, we need to have a team. We would have a group of people that, we can be passionate with about moving this forward and having some of the same beliefs and things of that nature. And through conversation and asking around, things started to develop. Boom, here comes Carell. Wow. So much energy, so much passion, so much drive. Okay. Boom. Step one. Let's start putting something together.
So your guys' connection with Carell was much more of much more of a meeting like a friend of a friend kind of situation come together, or did you guys already have a direct connect? Because obviously Carell had been doing so much with Houston and has been around obviously in the community.
Yes. Well, I mean, you see a person who's blazing a trail, and you're like, hey, can we talk? Can we talk? I mean, and she agreed to it, and I mean, we felt blessed. We were like, oh, okay, great. We got a powerhouse hitter here. And it started to roll. She single-handedly, I would say, and I'll battle anybody on this, gave this organization traction.
Nice.
And that's what it was about, because it's about time. And she put the time in. She put the investment in. And the organizational piece. She's highly organized. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, whenever you go down her history, it is literally, it feels like a series of somehow I got this, and because of my organizational skills, I absolutely got this all cleaned up together, and then I moved on to the next organization that I happened to get. But because of my organizational skills, I was able to get them all cleaned up and get them together right. And it's like, who are you? What kind of alien did you come out of to be able to have this ability? Because it's wild. Different. She is a monster of a person to be able to get things done. It is.
God bless her 100%. Like she's an asset. I'd rather her with me than against me. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But through that, and we got the organizational thing straight, and started, getting stuff straight to be a nonprofit, and getting all of the stuff you got to do to become incorporated, and then figuring out our name and the origins of that, and getting the webpage together, and getting what actually is our mission, and drilling that down. Again, great conversations, and then adding more people to the mix. And then you're knocking on doors, HBCU doors, and boom, Howard answered the call first.
So tell me, before we move on from that, because obviously Howard, I would say arguably is one of the first, if you want to say quote unquote success projects that the RSRF has been able to front and start up. Obviously there's multiple HBCUs out there. How many did you guys talk to before Howard came in? Because obviously you guys are also doing this smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. So not exactly the most easiest and ideal time to be able to get these things done. But what made Howard a focus for you guys?
Well, I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Anything close to DC, it gets the light. It gets the light. And Howard answered the call, and we talked to, oh boy, I want to say 7 maybe, but it might be 5, but I want to say 7. Mm-hmm. And again, this is all new, so we're flashlight in the dark, trying to figure out our way, because we don't even know if we have enough kids that actually are introduced into this, that would like it, that would know it, that even want to respond to it. Like, we're basketball, football, track, we're good. Like, we don't do that. And then also the response back from the colleges, hey, we don't have money to fund that. And I'm like, we never asked for money. We just want to know if you have an interest. And then, there are things that are going on with colleges, nowadays, and every college has their own fingerprint, so to speak.
Right.
And in that fingerprint, you have people that have their own personalities, and we got to figure that out too. As being the new kids on the block,
right?
So when Howard answered and said, "Yeah, we want to do something," and when I say answered, I mean the students of Howard answered, and then we started figuring out the pieces of the puzzle within our local rugby community to support them, and some clubs stepped up.
So it's interesting because obviously I'd be documenting. We've had Daniel Davalier and Takunda Rasiki, who I think arguably have been the heads from the student position in leading the way for the men's and women's side respectively.
Mm-hmm.
What was the connection with them exactly? Because obviously it's very random. Daniel is Louisiana guy with a Howard alumni back legacy who played rugby his entire youth life to happen to be at Howard. And then you got Takunda, who is a former swimmer who, has a genetic, connection to rugby, who happens to go to Howard. These are very random, very specific personalities and types that you get to connect with and build with, and very rare types. So how did you guys find them? Or more importantly, how did they connect with you?
Yeah, exactly. How did they connect with us? Yeah. I tell you, the power of prayer works, brother.
Hallelujah, baby.
I tell you, because that was all God's work, 100%. We did a lot of fishing and a lot of conversations and knocking on doors, emails, bringing people into the conversation in group messenger chats, and going after people to see who could do what, when, and where, and how. From Marcus Wood helping us out with finding us locations to practice at. Nice. To Cat Rosano stepping up and leaving the board and actually saying, okay, yeah, I'm a Howard alumni. Let me go help coach. Nice. And then just, people fitting the pieces of the puzzle together. I mean, having the HBCU Classic there. I mean, all that stuff is huge stuff. I mean, when you start talking to people and saying, hey, you're going to be the first to do it in this school. You're going to make Black history. I mean, that's what it is. That women's program made Black history for women in that college.
It did.
I mean, there's no way to dispute that ever.
Right.
You have the men's club that played a couple sevens tournaments, if I'm not mistaken. But they're the first all Black men's rugby club in that college.
Yep.
They made history. That stands forever.
Right.
So and even speaking to some of these kids, they know it. They get it.
Right.
Spite the sport, spite, everything else. They're like, wow, I'm gonna make history. Right. Yeah, that's important to the culture. That's real important to the culture. Them two just gravitated to leaders. I mean, honest with you, both of them just are natural leaders. That's all to it. I did a interview with her when she was on the field, Takunda.
Okay.
And when she told me like her educational background, I felt completely dumb. You are super smart.
She is ultimate achiever. Ultimate achiever.
That I was like, what?
That is a woman who's going to make impact in the world. And you see it already, exactly as you say. You're making history already now.
Right.
Wait until she enters into the proverbial real world and how much that's going to be.
I'm just happy to be a part of her life, man. She's going to be, everything that our culture needs. Like I can already see so much big things in her and him as well. Like it's just, you know,
absolutely.
I'm just like, wow.
Natural leader.
So, you know, back to conversations. Now we're having more conversations. We're knocking on Bowie's door right now.
Right.
We're knocking on Morgan State's door right now. Both of them, two different colleges, how they do things, how they run things, how their organizations are. Same people though.
Right.
You know, I've went to both of them, sat down with, you know, the people that are the yes people at both colleges. And it's just a matter of time, you know, through good conversation and input and answering questions and being available. You know, we have learned in our first, 2 years now, of what it takes. And we're still learning. We don't have it down 100%. We're still learning, but that is the beauty of it, because we understand that we are still infantile in this, but we're making huge leaps and bounds and making corrections as we're going to make things better.
Right.
You know, especially with the relationships we're trying to form now as well.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, obviously, like you said, you guys are still trying to figure it out, trying to you know, work on it along the way. And obviously you take the experiences. For you, everything gets figured out, or you guys have a plan. What exactly is it that you guys want to be known to achieve at? Is it that we're there to, for example, support the HBCUs? Are we a startup program? Are we just build relationships and be a resource? Like, what is it when everything comes together and you guys are working it out? Or, you know, what is it that the RSRF wants to be able to achieve and be known to be able to do for these universities?
So for the HBCUs, we want to supply the resources they need to develop, grow, and flourish in the game of rugby.
Yeah.
And we want to make it sustainable, you know, similar to a lot of other programs that are around. We want to make it sustainable. We are seeking always outside funding to support that. And we are making it so those kids that are coming out of high school that are playing rugby have a place to go that are out of our community. Right. And also the kids that are already there at college that never even heard of rugby have a new outlet. I mean, when I was at Bowie State, the guy there, Professor DeWhite, I believe, he brought lacrosse to that college.
Right.
And he said the more avenues we have as a people, the better we'll be. And that's huge. You have different companies right now, whether it be Target, Walmart, Adidas, Nike, that are throwing money at various HBCUs throughout the country to help foster all that.
Right.
And, you know, as we look for donations for our organization, we're trying to do the same thing, but in a more closer way to the actual game itself. We're taking the funds that come in and we're actually applying it exactly where it needs to be at, you know, and helping the program grow. We had, you know, some people that needed travel. We had some people that needed to have more coaching certifications done, or coaching certifications, period. You know, to have big events like, you know, hosting, you know, your classic event, you know.
Which you guys were very integral this year in being able to help make that thing happen. Obviously, super grateful for that. And that makes a significance in being able to make those kind of changes.
Super grateful for you. You've been holding it down for about a minute. We're sitting in the back seat. You's up front. You know what I mean? And then we're like, hey, we got to get that guy on the board. Yeah. You know, so yeah, we're much appreciative of you, Gift, and all the things you have brought to the table throughout the years that put, a black face in rugby, because honestly, there wasn't really, between you and T, there were no one else out there. You didn't see us, and when you saw us, it was like, oh, he's from South Africa,
right.
And that was it. So for us as the RS Front Rugby Foundation, we're just trying to move that needle. I mean, if we get 3 or 4 sustainable teams that, get bigger, better, stronger, that's a huge impact to the game of rugby, believe it or not. Because now you have, it'll be seen by other HBCUs throughout the country, and you know how competitive we are.
Facts. Facts.
So I'm kind of waiting for another all women's HBCU rugby team to pop up, and another one, man. And we got men that are, we got brothers that are down in the South right now that are, it's coming. The South is, them boys are coming. Them men, they ain't playing. They play.
Man, shout out to our guys over at Prairie View A&M, Morehouse, and upcoming Southern University, upcoming Tennessee State. Man, like it's that the wave is coming through
super fast. I watched a video up on one of the Facebook pages, the BIPOC Facebook page, and I was like, oh my goodness, like he just, wow, like it was like what he did, what, like it was just insane. I mean, and I don't know, it just it fired me up, man. It made me really push to complete this mission to move the needle a little bit to get more of us in the game. I'm just hoping that through funding and good partnerships, we can move the needle a little bit more as we're learning and getting through it. The crazy part about this, though, because all that are involved are passionate about the game. None of this is a struggle. All of this is fun. We enjoy doing what we're doing. Yeah. And I get to do this. I'm ecstatic and just happy to be here. Like, wow, I get to do this. I get to help progress, rugby in my community. People ask, oh, how do you get on the board? Show up, That's simple, Just show up.
Exist and want to do something meaningful. There we go. We keep it simple.
I mean, there's no big rocket science to this, and we have conversations and talk because we're all looking at the mission and the vision of trying to make this game a better place, and by us adding to it. So I'm hoping with all the negatives that are happening at some of our colleges right now, that I'll get a chance to sit with Bowie again soon. I think my trip is down there next week or so, and just sit with him and try to figure out some particulars. I mean, the season's over with anyway, but we need to figure out next year and what that looks like, and figure out what we need to do to fund that. Because the foundation funds the program through donations. We don't ask the colleges for money at all. Field space would be great, but if not, we'll figure something out as well as that. But our only goal is to get the ball in there and get the kids playing with it, and to get them to start learning the game. We've learned a lot of things from the NCAA standpoint that will probably take place at Howard pretty soon with the women's rugby, and we're understanding how the club program that don't exist will exist with rugby as a first step. But we've also had some classes that some colleges that are, hey, we're a Division I school or a Division II school, or we're in the Big 12 or whatever, and we want to do it this and bring it this way, and that's fine too. We're just trying to figure out, what do you need? Where can we help? One of the big things that were missing just in rugby in a whole are toolboxes for coaches, toolboxes for players. Now, World Rugby has a huge just amount of information you can go get. right? And I've been through it, and it's great. Yeah. So does USA Rugby. USA Rugby has some stuff as well.
Right. It's pretty standard. I think even NCR has their own kind of thing as well.
Right. But we're looking at having some stuff there's some disconnects that exist, and we're trying to make those things easier through easier video, because like anything else, when you see us in the practice videos, when you see us as coaches and referees, it's a better mix,
Right.
It's a better look, and we start to understand it more.
Speaking on that one, before you continue on, one thing when it comes to the being able to show kind of the toolbox or the guidebook to be able to do that. I know one thing that people always get worried about is like, oh, how do we, can we work at an HBCU? How do we fit in the culture? Yada, yada, yada. For you, and I know for me, I've always been like, just treat people like people. Just also understand, like, there's a jokiness. There has to be a playfulness that goes along with this. If you take everything too seriously, it can be too wrong. If you take everything too goofily, it can go wrong. But you find that healthy middle ground. For you, some of those key marks, and you already mentioned being able to see us, especially in those particular videos that show how to do rugby. For you, what are some of those other toolboxes that you think coaches can use so they can actually be impactful to developing the kids that go to HBCUs, which is its own kind of bubble environment, and are able to relate with the kids that and people, the even adults that exist to want to play, but want to be able to play and be themselves in totality.
So, as I said before, every school has their own fingerprint, right? So, it would be nice if the coach was an alumni to the college, right? Because culture at all of our HBCUs are not the same.
Thank you. No monoculturalism. That's a gore. Black is not black is not black is not black.
Right. So, that's a piece of the puzzle. The other thing is branding. They have to know how to work with the college for the branding. On the women's side, for the women's teams, there are, some NCAA guidelines that need to be filled out and such. Paperwork needs to be filled out. On the men's side, there are certain protocols need to be put in place. Just for safety, whereabouts, what are you doing? Maybe, what's your grades like,
Right.
And then, there's buddy systems. There's just more things on our end that really push towards brotherhood and sisterhood that creates the continuity within the team itself. Social events, because we social. I mean,
we social. Yes.
We need to come together and at that point, to the coaches also to making sure that they are knowledgeable about the nuances of the game that are not just ruck and maul. There you go.
Right.
Nah, there's other stuff to that, and making sure they have the best education possible. And it's I'd like to get to a point where it's in real time. If that makes sense.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
So like if a coach is someplace and they can't find a doc or something like that, it should be as simple as, hey, I'm going to send a text message or let's just go faster than that. Let's be in a chat group, and then they can go in the chat group and find what they're looking for.
Right.
Instead of having the login and password and this and that, and you have to be a member of this and that. Now it's just too much.
Kind of more centralization for
it's just too many doors to go through. I should be able to go to a messenger and be like, hey, type in protocols for concussion. Bang, dots pop up.
Right.
Video for how to pass so the ball carrier can make the tackler do a side tackle.
Right.
You know, I mean, just simple stuff like that. Or, hey, where do I buy my scrum machine at? You know, you know, just you know, it's just little stuff like, okay, how do I measure a field out? Where do I put my flags at? You know, you know, where do I buy the paint for the field?
Right.
You know, there's little stuff like that we already know that college is not going to have. So, and then on top of that is, okay, you're a coach now, you're going to need help. Whether it be an assistant coach or, let's say the word, an admin help. Well, now you have to show that admin what to do, where it's everything at. So you can actually coach, you know. And that's just little pieces of the puzzle into that we're working on, and trying to do that within the toolbox. And then the other thing is, which Carilla is actually excellent at, is putting together flyers.
Yeah.
You know, putting out material that you can broadcast throughout the campus. I know a lot of them have boards you can put stuff up at, whether it's the cafeteria or the book room or book sale room or something like that, bookstore. Right. And just, you know, hey, I'm having this event. Can somebody put this together? Boop, you put it out. Boop, comes back. Done. Here you go. And it's not a lot of rocket science involved, you know.
Right.
And that's what I'm kind of looking for in that. You know, just as a coach myself, one of the big things is just trying to be relevant and fresh in that kid's mind. I'm old. I don't know what the newest look is on a flyer. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there's somebody out there that I could ask the flyer in. But, you know, location, date, time, and, you know, that's it. And here comes the flyer. Bang. Wow. And you're like, wow. And you put it out. Like, just simple things like that. And then our social media page, of course. You know, we do have the Facebook page and we have the Instagram as well. But we have to get to a point where everybody is feeding into that and then taking stuff out of that, you know, and having people control that social media platform to be more relevant and current to what's going on in that season and in that college. You know, it'd be nice to have it so a coach could, or a player could, go to social media and say, oh, there's a game there, I'm going there. Oh, there's a coaching clinic there. As a coach, I'm going to go there, you know, and it just be ready and accessible and ready to go. You know, I think, and then one of the other things as a coach is ball bags, shields, tackle dummies, you know,
base equipment.
Right. The field, to put it straight out, because here's the thing. The partnerships we have, you know, let's say we partnered with like a Target or something, just hypothetically, right? And Target said, hey, we're going to say that anybody at our organization has an RS rugby code and they get 10% off on mouth guards, cleats, and warm up and workout clothes. Like, okay, well, we have the code for that now. That's in the toolbox, you know, just things, little things like that make a difference, you know, so. That's a piece of it.
I think that makes the most sense, and honestly, it creates the not just a funnel, but as you said, centralization, and convenience, and also the least amount of thinking that a person has to do to enter into the sport, which is, I think, people underestimate how important that is for getting people on. It's not about are you dumb or not. It's people just don't got time. You don't have time to be trying to think about every little facet. Somebody needs to kind of be the one that that correlates that process. So I do like the fact that is part of the goal to be able to do that in the objectives. Before I let you go, I want to ask you one last thing, and then of course get the information from you. But you know, can you give me in your time, having played rugby, now a coach, as a player, contributor, fan, one of your favorite rugby stories that we can say on camera that you're not embarrassed. For me, I'm all up. I want to keep you safe, all right? But you know, something that provided you either an opportunity or provided you access into, an opportunity or access into an experience that elevated the way that you saw the world?
Wow. That's a big question there, buddy.
Going hard, baby.
I gotta say, well, so I have been in the Capital Rugby Union, used to be the PRU, for years. I've met a lot of extraordinary men in all colors, all races and such throughout time. I have to say, in our community, because we are close, that the brotherhood that exists amongst us as men and the sisterhood that exists, amongst the women players, have had me really look at life differently. From coming from, East Baltimore, via Glen Burnie, Maryland, and not having a really productive upbringing with friends, so to speak. Rugby, they say when you're a kid, that particular thing took him off the streets. Well, rugby took me off the streets. Rugby kept me out of trouble, at least 4 hours a week, that is, and definitely my Saturdays were 100% occupied, but the men I played with, when I started playing, kept me in check. I could yell some names out right now, but I'm not going to put them on blast. But I've had some very good rugby men in my life that, helped get me to where I'm at professionally, and mentally and spiritually as well. And it's crazy now because I'm a coach now as well, and I still play, that there's a level of standard to which I have to be at. And the only reason I'm at that level is because of the guys that have helped mold me in the game.
Right.
The level of respect you have that you learn in our game of rugby, we beat the other team and then we go break bread with them afterwards and talk about the game and what happened. And like, oh, that was great. Oh man, good tackle. Oh man, good pass. And there's not a lot of sports that really do that,
right.
Southern River, again, that's my roots, is a big piece of why I'm here. I was around when they were an all men's team and they went to having men and women on the team, and the women came into the team and they just excelled. And now they're number 2 in the nation right now.
Wow.
And it's like, I'm a part of that, just a part by being, I'm in the room.
Right.
Okay. And it's just, one of those things to where if it wasn't for rugby, I would not have been here. If it wasn't for rugby, I wouldn't probably have started my own business twice over. I own 2 companies. If it wasn't for rugby, I wouldn't have met some of the CEOs and owners in different industries and companies that I've met. Through rugby, I've been to Ireland and played. I've been to London, just got back and played. So, literally, I owe rugby to my international travel. The reason why I got a passport to play. It's just, it's crazy, looking back at everything and saying to myself, I would never have gotten these opportunities in my life if I was a basketball player or a football player. Again, I would be a small fish in a big pond.
Right.
And then, I got to tell you, people of color that come into this game, You know, it's an easy transition. It's not hard, especially if you're an athletic and you have a background. You will excel so fast in this community of rugby, faster than you would in any other sport.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just I've seen it. Carl Iverson, I've seen it. You know, I've seen it, and that's just one of the many that I've seen happen. That it's just like, wow, that guy, he's running a 4.4. How fast? Yeah, put a rugby ball in his hand. You know, oh, he's got hands. Oh yeah. He can pass. Oh, okay, yeah. Like I say it all the time. Like those guys down south, killing it.
No.
Killing it. I can't wait to see what some of those young brothers are going to do in the future in the game. You know, whether they go to the international level and join the MLR, because the MLR is growing, by the way, and that's Major League Rugby. If guys don't know that, they're growing, and there's a lot of good players that are gravitating to that from college, and hopefully, everything will go up into club programs throughout the nation, and hopefully we will produce a good side to represent the United States of America in the Olympics in sevens, and also more importantly the World Cup, which with the bracket changes that came about, I'm hoping and praying that we
qualify.
Yeah, right.
So if we're not qualifying at 24, we just don't want to go.
right. But I'm hoping. But I think with the addition of different people coming together, because the United States is a melting pot,
right?
We can produce what's needed. But again, I'm just here just to help move a needle, just a little bit, just do my part and say, hey, I did that. But yeah, rugby has been everything to me in my entire life. You know, I've had a lot of help from a lot of rugby brothers. You know, I tell people when they talk about rugby and the non-said brotherhood that's there, it's similar to like the Qs and all the other black fraternities that exist.
Yeah,
you know, and they go, really, word? I'm like, bruh, let me tell you.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, the same. You know, like I tell the high school kids, the same kids you've been playing with right now, if you stick in rugby, you will see these same guys the rest of your entire life. And you will travel with these guys the rest of your entire life if you stay in the game. So let's say you get, I'm going to use the word redshirted, so to speak, and they pull you over to another country to play, you know, in one of their lower brackets to play. They pay for food. They pay for travel. They get you a job. You got room aboard. You take your brother with you, you know. And you guys start rolling. I mean, it's just little things like that. Like, you know, I tell guys, rugby's a lot bigger than what you think because we're international. It's an international game. Right. It's not localized as you think. You know, we can say we're played around the world.
Right.
Around the world. Some sports claim that they're the world this and the world that, but they're only in one place. Not saying any specific sport. Just saying.
Don't start. We're working in peace in this moment.
But yeah, if you everyone checks out the links, we have the Give Butter support on Irish Rugby. We also have the Facebook page up there as well. And also some little about myself and some of the board members on the foundation. If anyone is interested to speak to me or have a one-on-one, please go to the Facebook page and hit me with a DM. If you're interested,
actually say the Facebook page out loud because this is both audio and visual. You know, people need to hear you. All right, you get. Don't assume for these people. All right, convenience.
So if you go to the RS Rugby Foundation on Facebook, we should pop up. You can Google us through the Robertson and Sullivan Rugby Foundation as well. We should pop up. That's our .org. The quickest way to contact us is on Facebook through DM. If you want to join the board, all ears are open to hear what you got to say. Because, you know, power is in numbers. And if you want to donate, it would be the givebutter.com/support rugby.
HBCU rugby.
Yeah, HBCU rugby. I forgot. It's for HBCU rugby. So, but yeah, so like if you're listening, you're going, man, how can I help? How can I donate money? Give Butters the first step. Do we need funds? Yes, we do. It is a strong yes.
We don't have ego with this. We will take and help everything.
Right, every penny counts. Every penny counts. I mean, the money we put in, the money we help. I mean, even for the coaches, we help the coaches as well. Mm-hmm. Like if you're interested in being a coach and you attend any HBCU in the country, let us know. If you go to any HBCU in the country, hit me with the DM and we'll work with you to start a program at that college. Not a problem. Yeah, it's that simple.
Awesome. Mike, man, I definitely appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for coming through. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. I hope you enjoyed yourself too. 100%. 100%. Man. Hell, until then, we will continue to do what we do with the RSF Rugby Foundation, HBCU Rugby, Black Development in Rugby, and the development of rugby overall. Until next time, brother.
Thank you.
Yo, Mike, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen. Hope you learned something, hope you gained, but most importantly, I hope that you feel that there is another part of this community that you get to know and understand and develop into something else. Of course, if you have a chance, check out some of our other episodes outside of our weekly updates. Check out some of our other interviews. We've had great interviews with people like Naya Tapper, Jen Salamani with PR7s, Blaine Scully, former captain for USA Rugby, and just so many more people, so many people. And we're going to continue to try and build this and get more people back onto the show on a regular basis. But in the meantime, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. And of course, I hope that you are happy. I hope that you are healthy. And most importantly, I hope that you know that you are highly favored. Until next time, cheers.